I used to believe one thing. Blood meant loyalty. I believed that because my father taught me that. He wasn't a warm man. He didn't do hugs. He didn't do long speeches. But he had a code. When he looked me in the eyes and said, "Your brother will always be your brother," I believed him like it was scripture. And for most of my life, I lived like that was truth. Until the deal. Until $90 million walked into our lives and turned my brother into someone I didn't recognize. Or maybe worse, it revealed who he had been all along. Let me start at the beginning, because if you don't understand how we got there, the ending won't hit the way it should. My name is Ethan. I'm not famous. I don't come from old money. I'm just a guy who built something from nothing. And for 6 years, I built it with my younger brother, Logan. We started with 2 laptops, 1 folding table, and a rented office space that smelled like burnt coffee and desperation. A lot of people think success looks glamorous in the beginning. It doesn't. In the beginning, it looks like sleeping on office carpet. It looks like microwaved ramen. It looks like your bank account sitting at negative numbers while you convince yourself that passion is enough. Logan and I worked like animals, not because we loved the grind, because we had no choice. We were both raised in the kind of household where nobody was coming to save you. Our dad worked construction until his knees gave out. Our mom cleaned houses and still worried every month about rent. There were no safety nets, no investments, no rich uncles, just 2 brothers and a dream big enough to feel delusional. I was the older brother, the one who planned everything, the one who stayed up late drawing out strategies on whiteboards. Logan was different. Logan was charisma. He could sell a glass of water to someone drowning. He could walk into a room full of strangers and leave with new friends, new connections, and somehow new opportunities. He had that gift. I didn't. So we became a perfect combination. I built the engine. He drove the car. Our company was called Vantacore. And no, it wasn't some silly app or gimmick. We built cybersecurity infrastructure for mid-sized banks and fintech companies. The kind of boring business that makes serious money. The kind of business where one breach can cost a company hundreds of millions of dollars. We were solving expensive problems. And when you solve expensive problems, people pay you like you're a magician. For years, nobody cared about us. Then one day, everything changed. A fintech company out of Chicago got hacked. It made national headlines. Their security system failed. Thousands of accounts exposed. Lawsuits exploded. And suddenly, every bank that had been ignoring cybersecurity started panicking. They weren't asking, "Do we need protection?" They were asking, "Who can protect us right now?" That's when our phones started ringing. At first, it was small contracts, 50,000 here, 200,000 there. Then it became bigger, $1 million contract, then 3, then 10. And in less than 18 months, Vantacore went from a small, scrappy company to a brand people respected. And when money starts pouring in, you learn something fast. Success doesn't just bring opportunity, it brings predators. One morning, Logan walked into my office holding a file folder like it was a golden ticket. His smile was too wide, his energy was too high, and I remember thinking, this is either amazing news or a disaster. He dropped the folder on my desk. "Ethan," he said, like he was announcing the lottery numbers, "we got approached." "Approached by who?" I asked. He leaned forward. "Atlas Capital." I froze. If you don't know Atlas Capital, let me explain. They were one of the biggest private equity firms in the country. They specialized in acquiring growing tech companies, scaling them fast, and then either selling them or taking them public. They didn't approach people. They hunted. If Atlas noticed you, it meant you were no longer small. It meant you were on the menu. Logan sat down and said, "We want to buy us." I felt my heartbeat slow down. Not because I was calm, because I was calculating. Buying us meant what? Buying us for how much? I opened the folder, and I saw a number that made my throat go dry. $90 million. 90 million. It felt like Monopoly money. It felt like something that only happens to people on magazine covers. Logan watched my face closely, enjoying it like entertainment. "Yeah," he whispered, "we made it." I should have been happy, and I was at first. I pictured my parents finally owning a house. I pictured my mom never scrubbing someone else's bathroom again. I pictured my dad being able to retire without pain meds. I pictured peace, real peace. But then I read deeper, and that's when the first crack appeared. The structure of the deal wasn't just a purchase, it was a full acquisition. Atlas would take control. They'd keep us on as executives for a transition period, and then we'd become employees in our own company. That wasn't necessarily bad, but there was something else. One line. A line written in corporate language that most people would skim over. It stated that Atlas intended to negotiate ownership primarily with the public-facing executive founder. I looked up at Logan. He was still smiling. "Where did you get this?" I asked. Logan leaned forward. "They contacted me." "Only you?" "They said they wanted the person who handles relationships." And technically that was true. Logan did the pitches, Logan did the meetings, Logan did the networking. But there was one thing he didn't do. Logan didn't build the product. Logan didn't design the system. Logan didn't stay up at 3 a.m. fixing vulnerabilities while investors slept. That was me. And suddenly I felt something I couldn't name yet. Not anger, not fear, a warning, like hearing a small rattlesnake before you see it. I closed the folder slowly. I said, "Did you tell them I'm the CEO?" Logan smiled, just a little. "You're the CEO on paper." That sentence hit me like a slap. On paper. Logan wasn't just excited. Logan was testing. He was seeing how much power he could take without me noticing. And I promise you, at that moment, I realized something. This wasn't going to be a celebration story. This was going to be a war. Because $90 million doesn't just buy companies. It buys loyalty. It buys silence. It buys betrayal. And my brother, my own blood, was already being bought. At the time, I didn't confront him. I didn't explode. I didn't accuse. Instead, I played the role he expected. I smiled back. I said, "We'll handle it together." And Logan nodded like he believed that. But inside my mind, something had shifted. I began to watch. I began to listen. Because when someone becomes greedy, they don't just steal once. They start stealing in layers. And if you give them rope, they don't walk away with a little. They hang themselves with it. So I gave Logan rope. And the very next week, he used it. Because Atlas Capital flew us to New York. First class, private driver, luxury hotel, high floor, a view that made you feel like God. And when we walked into that glass conference room in Manhattan, I saw the future. I saw million-dollar suits. I saw silent assistants. I saw men with cold eyes smiling like sharks. Atlas didn't want our company. They wanted our technology. And they didn't care who built it. They only cared who could sign. Logan sat at the center like he belonged there, like he was the king. And at one point, one of the Atlas executives leaned forward and asked Logan a simple question. "Logan, are you comfortable leading this transition as our primary executive?" Logan didn't look at me, not even once. He said, "Absolutely." That's when I knew. The betrayal wasn't coming. It was already happening. And I was the only one in the room who saw it. I kept my face neutral. I nodded like everything was fine. But inside, my heart was cold. Because you can forgive many things. You can forgive mistakes. You can forgive disrespect. But when your brother tries to erase you from your own legacy, that's not a misunderstanding. That's a decision. And I made my own decision right there. I wasn't going to stop him. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't even going to fight him directly. I was going to let him take the deal, and then I was going to let him destroy himself with it. Because the truth is, I didn't need to win the money. I needed to win the story. And I was about to write a story so brutal, so clean, so undeniable that Logan would never recover. Not in business, not in family, not in reputation, not ever again. The email didn't just wake me up, it slapped me across the face. Because when you see the words authorized signer update from your own bank, you already know what it means before you open it. Someone changed power, someone changed control, and they didn't ask. They didn't discuss it, they just did it. I opened the email slowly, as if I could control the damage by controlling my breathing. The bank message was short, professional, cold. It informed us that an update had been made to our business account profile. It included a PDF confirmation, and in that PDF, right there in black and white, I saw it. Logan Mitchell, primary authorized signer, full transactional access, wire transfer permissions, approval authority for loans and lines of credit, and my name was still there, technically, but it was reduced. Secondary access, view-only alerts, no wire authority, no new credit authority, no direct approval privileges. It was like someone had walked into my house while I slept and changed the locks, but left my name on the mailbox just to mock me. For a full minute, I didn't move. I didn't blink. I just stared at the page. I could almost hear my heartbeat in my ears. Thump, thump, thump. Not panic, not rage, something sharper, betrayal. Because the truth was, Logan couldn't have done this by accident. Banks don't change signer authority because someone requested it verbally. There were forms, signatures, board resolutions, identity verifications. There are steps, meaning Logan planned this, Logan prepared this, and he did it on purpose. My first instinct was to march into his room and explode, to grab him by the collar and scream, "What the hell did you do?" But then another voice in my mind whispered something calm and brutal. Let him keep going. Because men like Logan don't just steal once, they escalate, they get addicted, like a gambler who wins big and suddenly believes luck is his birthright. If I confronted him now, he'd slow down, he'd clean up, he'd cover his tracks, but if I stayed quiet, he'd get comfortable, and comfort makes criminals careless. So instead of confronting him, I did something else. I got dressed. I walked downstairs into the hotel dining area like everything was normal. Atlas Capital had arranged a breakfast meeting at 8 a.m. Logan was already there when I arrived, sitting with confidence like a man who believed the world belonged to him. He looked up, smiled, and raised his coffee cup like we were two brothers celebrating success. I sat down across from him, and I studied him. This is the part most people don't understand. The moment betrayal becomes real, you stop seeing the person as family. You stop seeing them as someone you know. You start analyzing them like an enemy. Every micro-expression becomes evidence. Every pause becomes a clue. Logan smiled too much. He was too relaxed, too casual. That told me he wasn't worried. That told me he thought I hadn't noticed. He leaned forward, lowering his voice like he was sharing confidential inside information. "So, Atlas is excited. They want to speed things up." I said, "Speed things up how?" Logan nodded toward the window like he was pointing at the future. "They're talking about signing within 2 weeks," he said. "Maybe sooner." 2 weeks.
That meant Logan didn't just plan to push me aside. He planned to do it fast, before I could react, before I could lawyer up, before I could rally our employees, before I could alert anyone who might protect me. He wanted me too late. Logan sipped his coffee and said, "We need to be united on this." I almost laughed. United? The audacity! He stole bank authority behind my back and then asked for unity like it was a motivational quote? But I kept my face calm. I nodded slowly. Of course, we should be aligned. Logan smiled, satisfied. He thought he had won. He thought I was falling into place, and I let him believe that. Because the strongest weapon in war isn't anger, it's control. After breakfast, Logan and I went to Atlas's office. Their headquarters looked like a temple to money. Glass walls, marble floors, quiet hallways. Everyone walked softly, like the building itself demanded respect. Atlas's lead deal partner, a man named Richard Halden, shook my hand. But his focus lingered on Logan. It was subtle but clear. Richard already saw Logan as the person in charge, and I understood why. To Atlas, Logan was the perfect puppet. He was charming, he was hungry, and most importantly, he was easy to control. Men like Richard loved men like Logan because they could flatter them, promise them status, and get them to sign whatever was needed. Then later, when things got messy, they could discard them. Richard led us into the conference room, the same room from the day before. Same table, same view, same cold energy. But this time, the mood was different. This time, Atlas came prepared. Folders were placed neatly at every seat, copies of draft agreements, non-disclosure papers, deal outlines. Logan sat down like he owned the place, and as I sat, I noticed something. My folder was thinner. Logan's was thicker. That's when I knew. Atlas was already dividing us, already positioning him as the main. I flipped open my folder and scanned the outline. The structure was heavily favorable to Atlas. There was a 3-year earn-out period, meaning we wouldn't receive all the money immediately. Atlas would pay an initial amount, then the rest would be tied to performance metrics. Those metrics? Controlled by Atlas, which meant they could reduce the payout whenever they wanted. This was a classic trap. I had seen it before in other acquisitions. It's how private equity firms squeeze founders. Make the founders believe they're rich, then slowly tighten the contract until they realize they signed away everything and got paid pennies. Logan didn't see that. Logan saw the big number. He saw 90 million and thought, "I'm a king." I looked across the table at him. He was smiling at the pages like they were love letters. Richard began speaking. He described Atlas's vision, their growth strategy, their support, and it was all corporate poetry. But then Richard made a statement that changed everything. "We would like Logan to be CEO post-acquisition," he said casually, like it was already decided. The words hit me like a bullet. CEO, not COO. Not co-lead, CEO. Logan's eyes widened for a half second, then he quickly hid it behind professionalism. But I saw it. I saw the satisfaction, the triumph. My brother was being handed my position in front of me.
And he didn't even have the decency to pretend he was uncomfortable. Instead, he nodded slowly. "I'm honored," he said. That was it. That was the moment I knew Logan wasn't just stealing money. He was stealing identity. He was stealing my entire role and legacy. In that moment, my anger became ice, because I realized something else, too. Atlas was playing him. Atlas didn't love Logan. They were using him as leverage. They knew exactly what they were doing. They were creating tension between brothers so they could get better control of the deal. If I fought, Atlas would use it against me. They'd label me unstable. They'd label me difficult. They'd push me out and replace me easily. So I did something that shocked even me. I smiled. I leaned back, and I said, "That makes sense." Logan glanced at me, surprised. Probably because he expected resistance, because he expected me to finally snap. Instead, I added calmly, Logan is great with relationships. He'll handle the external leadership well. Logan's expression softened. He thought I had accepted defeat. Richard nodded, satisfied. But my words weren't surrender. They were strategy. Because what Logan didn't understand was, the moment he became CEO, he became responsible. Legally. Criminally. And when things go wrong in a company, the CEO is the first head on the chopping block. I planned to make sure things went wrong, but not randomly, not violently, cleanly, legally, in a way that couldn't be traced to me. After the meeting, Logan was glowing. We rode down the elevator together, and he couldn't hide his excitement anymore. You heard that? He whispered. I nodded. CEO, he said, tasting the word like candy. I looked at him, the brother I grew up with, the brother I fought with and laughed with, and all I could see was a stranger wearing his face. He stepped closer. You're okay with this, right? He asked. That question had poison in it, because it wasn't really a question, it was a test, a way to see if I was still controllable. So I gave him exactly what he wanted. I smiled gently. Of course, I said, you deserve it. Logan exhaled, relieved, and I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. But then I remembered the bank email. I remembered the locks being changed. I remembered my name being downgraded, and my pity disappeared. That night, back at the hotel, Logan left to celebrate with a couple of Atlas guys at a private bar. He didn't invite me. Of course not. He wanted to bond without me, to build alliances without me. So I stayed in the room, and I made my first move. Not aggressive, not loud. Quiet. Precise. I called one person, a man named Calvin Reyes. Calvin wasn't a lawyer. He wasn't family. He was something far more dangerous. Calvin was our former compliance officer. 3 years ago, he left Vantacor because he didn't like how Logan cut corners. Calvin had warned me back then. He had said, your brother is charming, but he's reckless. I didn't listen enough. Now I was about to. Calvin answered on the second ring. Ethan, he said, surprised. I didn't waste time. Calvin, I said, I need your help. There was a pause. Then Calvin's voice became careful. What kind of help? I stared out the hotel window at the lights of New York. I spoke slowly. I need to build a file, I said. A clean one, a legal one. Calvin went quiet for a few seconds. Then he said, you finally saw it? I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Calvin understood. He asked, what happened? I took a breath. My brother is trying to push me out, I said, and Atlas Capital is encouraging him. Calvin exhaled sharply, like he had expected it. Okay, he said, then you're already late. That stung. Late? I asked. Calvin's voice was low now. You don't understand, he said. If Logan is moving like this, he's already been preparing for months. Months. That made my stomach tighten. Because if that was true, then my brother wasn't just greedy, he was calculated. Calvin continued, and Ethan, if he forged your signature... I already knew what he was about to say. Calvin finished anyway. Felony? I stared at the darkness outside, and for the first time since this started, I felt something close to hope. Because Logan didn't just betray me emotionally, he may have betrayed me legally. And the legal system doesn't care about brotherhood. It cares about evidence. Calvin said, if you want to take him down, you need him to keep signing things, keep moving money, keep proving intent. I smiled, because Calvin was thinking exactly the way I was. I can do that, I said. Calvin replied, then I'll help you, but you need to understand something. What? I asked. Calvin's voice was ice. This isn't about revenge, it's about survival. Logan is about to destroy you. I whispered, I know. And then Calvin said the most important words of the night. If you play this right, he said, your brother won't just lose the deal.
he'll lose his freedom. I ended the call with one clear decision in my chest. I wasn't going to fight Logan with emotions. I was going to fight him with the system, with paperwork, with digital trails, with signatures, with traps. And my first trap was already forming. Because while Logan was out drinking, feeling powerful, I was setting up a meeting for the next day. A private lunch with Atlas's legal team, without Logan. And if Atlas believed they were buying a company, they were wrong. They were stepping into a family war, and I was about to make sure the entire deal became Logan's personal downfall. Because when you want to destroy a man like Logan, you don't punch him in the face. You hand him a pen, and you let him sign.
The next morning, I woke up before sunrise. Not because I was refreshed, because my mind wouldn't let me sleep. That's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't just hurt your heart, it hijacks your brain. Every memory turns into evidence. Every conversation rewinds itself in your head like security footage. And suddenly, you start noticing the details you ignored when you still believed someone loved you. I showered, dressed, and sat by the window with my laptop open. New York was still quiet. The city looked calm from that height, like it didn't know the kind of war being planned inside one hotel room. I opened my email and checked for anything new from the bank. Nothing. No new alerts. Which meant Logan hadn't made another move overnight. Yet. But I knew he would. Logan had tasted power. He wasn't going to stop until he had everything. I stared at the skyline and reminded myself of something important. I didn't need to beat him by force. I needed to beat him by patience. Because men like Logan always fall the same way, not because someone attacks them, because they get too confident. And confidence is loud. Confidence leaves fingerprints. At 9:17 a.m., my phone buzzed. A text from Logan. Breakfast downstairs in 20. We need to go over the term sheet before noon. Term sheet. He said it like he was the leader, like I was his assistant. I replied with one word. Okay. Nothing more. No arguments, no tone, no emotion. Because when you're building a trap, you don't shake the cage. You feed the animal until it walks inside willingly. Downstairs, the hotel restaurant was full of well-dressed people pretending not to look at each other. New York is like that. Everybody acts important. Everybody acts like their time is sacred. Logan was sitting at a corner table with 2 coffees already ordered. He smiled when I approached, but it wasn't warmth. It was satisfaction, like he had already decided how this story would end, and he couldn't wait to see me accept my place in it. I sat down quietly. Logan slid a folder across the table. The updated terms came in late last night, he said. Atlas wants to accelerate. I opened the folder and scanned quickly. Some details changed. The earnout was more aggressive now. The timeline tighter. Atlas was squeezing us harder. But Logan didn't notice. He was focused on one thing: control. He tapped the page with his finger. Look here, he said. They want to lock leadership roles. CEO is me. CTO is you. CTO, Chief Technology Officer. A title that sounds impressive to people who don't understand what's happening. But in reality, in an acquisition like this, CTO is often a leash, a way to keep the product guy working while the deal guys take the spotlight. I looked up at Logan. So you'd report to me, I said calmly. Logan shrugged like it was natural. Well, yeah, you're the tech genius, I'm the face. There it was again, the same poison, on paper. The face, as if building the engine was just a hobby, as if the mind behind the company was replaceable. Logan leaned forward, excited. Ethan, this is huge, he said. We're talking about generational money. $90 million. Dad would cry. He said Dad, like he was playing the family card, like he was trying to use guilt as a weapon. I nodded slowly. Yeah, he would.
Logan smiled. He thought he won again. Then he lowered his voice. "There's something else," he said. I kept my expression neutral. "What?" Logan hesitated just long enough to show he was nervous. Then he said it. "Atlas wants to adjust the cap table." Cap table. Capitalization table.
Ownership distribution. That's the heart of the whole company. That's where you see who owns what. I said nothing. Logan continued. "They're saying the acquisition needs a clean story," he said. "One visionary founder, one controlling share." I looked at him. "And that founder is you," I said. Logan's smile tightened. "They're not saying it like that," he said quickly. "It's just for optics." Optics. That was another word men use when they want to commit a crime while pretending it's just marketing. Logan kept talking. "If we do it this way, Atlas is willing to offer me a larger leadership package," he said. "More equity, more incentives." And there it was, the real motive. He didn't just want money, he wanted dominance. He wanted to be the brother who won. He wanted to be the one who could look down on me forever. I stared at my coffee for a moment, pretending to think. Then I looked him in the eyes and asked, "And what do you need from me?" Logan exhaled, relieved. He reached into his bag and pulled out a document with our company logo at the top, a board resolution. He slid it toward me like he was offering a harmless paper. "It's just a corporate cleanup," he said. "We're restructuring roles for the acquisition. You stay protected, I promise." I stared at the paper. Board resolution. To update authorized signers. To update executive authority. To designate Logan as primary decision maker for acquisition negotiations. And at the bottom, it required my signature. My signature. That's what this was about. The bank update wasn't enough. He needed me to sign something official, something that would make his takeover legal. He leaned closer. "It's standard," he whispered. "We'll both be rich, Ethan. Don't make this weird." Don't make this weird. That phrase is what people say right before they do something unforgivable. It's the language of manipulation. They know what they're doing is wrong, so they frame your reaction as the problem. I looked at the paper again. I should have refused. I should have torn it. I should have exposed him right there. But instead, I smiled, because this paper was a gift, a trap opportunity. Because if Logan was willing to bring me a forged board resolution, I could build a case that would destroy him. And I could do it without raising my voice. I leaned back and said casually, "Let me read it carefully." Logan's eyes narrowed. He tried to hide it. "Sure," he said. "Take your time." I read the document slowly, and as I read, my mind was working fast. If I sign, he wins. If I refuse, he slows down and becomes careful. So I needed a third option, a way to appear cooperative while secretly creating leverage. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. Logan's eyes followed it. I said, "You don't mind if I take a photo for my records, right? Just in case Atlas asks questions later." Logan hesitated, just for half a second. Then he smiled. "Of course, transparency." Transparency. The hypocrisy almost made me laugh out loud. I took photos of every page, front and back. I made sure the timestamp was recorded. I made sure the images were crystal clear. Then I looked at him and said calmly, "I'll sign it, but I want one tweak." Logan blinked. "Tweak?" he asked. I nodded. "This clause," I said, pointing at a section about financial authority. "It's too broad. It says you can authorize transfers without dual approval."
Logan's jaw tightened. "It's standard," he said. I shook my head. "Not for us," I said. "It should require 2 signatures for any wire transfer above $100,000. Logan stared at me. I could see his mind calculating. He didn't want restrictions, he wanted full freedom, but he also needed my signature. So after a long pause, he nodded. "Fine," he said, "we can adjust it." I smiled. "Great," I said, "send me the updated version." Logan relaxed again. He thought I was being cautious, not strategic. He thought I was just trying to protect myself. He didn't realize I was protecting my evidence, because the moment he agreed to modify that clause, he proved intent. He proved he wanted wire authority. He proved he was designing the takeover. That was motive, and motive is powerful in court. After breakfast, we walked to Atlas for the noon meeting. On the way, Logan kept talking. He was high on control. He described how he'd run the company, how he'd handle the board, how he'd be interviewed, how he'd rebrand Vantacore. He even said, "I'm thinking about a new logo." A new logo, like he wanted to erase our past, erase our struggle, erase the nights and sacrifices, erase me. I listened without reacting, because I wasn't just hearing him talk, I was learning his psychology. Logan wanted validation more than money. Money was just proof, proof that he was better, proof that he mattered, proof that he was the leader. And men like that are easy to destroy, because you can feed their ego until they become blind. At Atlas headquarters, we entered the conference room again. This time, Richard was there with 2 lawyers and 1 finance executive. The lawyers introduced themselves politely. Crisp suits, smiles that didn't reach their eyes. One of them, a woman named Dana Wexler, shook my hand and held eye contact a second longer than necessary. She was assessing me. She wasn't like Richard. She wasn't seduced by Logan's charm. She was hunting for the weak point. I realized quickly Dana was the real danger, because in a firm like Atlas, the lawyers don't just protect the deal, they protect the firm from fallout. And if Logan became fallout, Dana would cut him off like a dead limb. The meeting started. Richard spoke confidently. Logan nodded along, trying to look like a CEO. Then Dana turned to us and said, "We need to finalize signatory authority before we proceed to drafting the acquisition agreement." Signatory authority. Logan looked at me like he expected me to keep playing nice. I nodded. Dana continued, "We'll need a board resolution confirming who can negotiate and sign, and we'll need updated bank documents reflecting that authority." Bank documents. My stomach tightened, because now it was clear. Atlas wasn't just encouraging Logan, they were verifying him. They were helping him formalize control. Logan spoke up quickly. "We already started that process," he said. "I'm primary signer now." Dana glanced at me. "Is that accurate?" she asked. That question hung in the air like a blade. If I said no, the war would explode right there. If I said yes, I'd be validating the takeover. So I gave the only answer that served my plan. I smiled politely. "We're cleaning things up," I said. "Logan is the primary negotiator, but we're implementing dual approvals for large transfers." Dana nodded slightly. I saw it. She liked that. Because dual approval protects Atlas too. Dana said, "Good, that reduces risk." Then she slid a paper across the table. "This is our preliminary executive agreement. Logan will sign first, then Ethan." Logan grabbed the pen like a kid grabbing candy. He didn't read, he didn't hesitate, he signed. One signature, one careless, confident signature. And the moment he did, I felt the game shift. Because now Logan wasn't just dreaming, he was committing. He was putting his name down as the leader, as the responsible executive, as the person accountable for everything. And I was about to use that. I signed too, but I didn't sign blindly. I watched every clause, and I noticed a small section buried deep in the agreement, a compliance clause, a serious one. It stated that any executive misconduct or misrepresentation could nullify compensation and trigger legal action. I memorized that, because that clause was going to be my weapon. After the meeting, Logan was buzzing with excitement. He slapped my shoulder like we were partners again. "Bro," he said, "this is happening."
I smiled faintly. Yeah, it's happening. But inside, I wasn't thinking about money. I was thinking about prison, because my next move was already lined up. That evening, I met Dana Wexler alone. Not officially, not announced, not documented. A quiet coffee meeting arranged through one simple email. I told Logan I needed to call our engineers. He didn't question it. He didn't suspect anything. Because Logan's biggest weakness was this. He assumed I was too loyal to betray him. He assumed I was too soft. He assumed I would never go against family. And that was my advantage. Dana and I sat in a quiet corner of a cafe near Atlas's office. She didn't waste time. She said, "You wanted to speak privately." I nodded. I leaned forward, and I said a sentence that made her eyes sharpen instantly. "I think Logan forged my signature to gain control of our bank account." Dana didn't react emotionally. She reacted legally. Her posture changed. Her focus intensified. "What makes you say that?" she asked. I pulled out my phone. I showed her the bank email. I showed her the before and after authorization changes. I said calmly, "I never signed a resolution approving that." Dana stared at the evidence for a long moment. Then she asked the question that told me everything I needed to know. "Do you have proof?" she asked. I looked at her and smiled. "Not yet," I said, "but I'm about to." Dana's gaze stayed locked on mine. She understood what I was doing, and she didn't stop me. She simply said, "Be careful." Then she added quietly, "If you're right, Atlas will protect itself." That was another way of saying something much darker. If I was right, Atlas would let Logan burn. Because big firms don't do loyalty, they do survival. I stood up, ready to leave. Dana spoke again. "Ethan," she said, "if he forged your signature once, he'll do it again." I nodded. "That's the plan," I said. Because that night, as Logan celebrated again, I sent him a message. A friendly, supportive message. The kind of message a good brother would send. "Proud of you. Let's finalize everything this week. Whatever you need, I'm with you." Logan replied instantly. "My guy, knew I could count on you." And in that moment, I knew I had him. Because now I wasn't just watching him steal, I was feeding him confidence, feeding him greed, feeding him speed. And when a man like Logan speeds up, he stops checking for cameras, he stops reading contracts, he stops thinking, he just signs. And tomorrow, Logan was going to sign something even bigger, something that would put him in federal territory. Because Atlas wanted a deposit, a good faith deposit. $10 million moved to an escrow account, and Logan, newly empowered, was going to authorize it, without dual approval, without realizing that the clause we adjusted wasn't in the final draft yet, and that wire would become Exhibit A.
The next morning felt too quiet, like the city was holding its breath. I woke up to 3 missed calls from a number I recognized immediately. Our company bank branch manager. That wasn't normal. Bank managers don't call founders at 7 a.m. unless something big is happening. I sat up, grabbed my phone, and called back. He answered on the first ring. "Mr. Mitchell," he said, voice tense, "thank you for calling back. We have a situation." I kept my voice calm. "What kind of situation?" There was a pause. Then he said the words I needed to hear. "We received a wire transfer request for $10 million. $10 million. I didn't react. I didn't ask from who. I already knew. "What account?" I asked. "An escrow account," he replied. "It's labeled as part of a business acquisition." I stared at the wall as if I could see through it. And then I asked the most important question of my life. Who authorized the wire? The bank manager hesitated. Then he said it. "Logan Mitchell. He is listed as the primary authorized signer." I let my silence stretch for just a second longer. Not because I was shocked, because I wanted him to feel that something was wrong. "I see," I said slowly.
Then I added casually, "Was there a secondary approval?" "No," he said. "The resolution included a request allowing unilateral approvals." There it was, the forged paper trail. I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt, because I had never approved unilateral wire transfers. And the clause Logan promised to adjust? He ignored it. He didn't just want control. He wanted total freedom. The bank manager continued, "Mr. Mitchell, I wanted to confirm because the amount is unusually high, and the timing is sudden." I took a deep breath. This was the moment to be smart, not emotional. If I screamed, it would alarm everyone, including Logan. And if Logan got spooked now, he'd slow down. I couldn't allow that. Not yet. So I said calmly, "Thank you for calling. The transfer is connected to an acquisition. It's legitimate. Proceed." The bank manager exhaled in relief. "Understood," he said. "Thank you." I ended the call and stared out the window. $10 million. Logan was about to move $10 million without my consent. That wasn't a brother problem anymore. That was federal. That was prison territory. And in that moment, I didn't feel rage. I felt clarity. Because everything I suspected was true. Logan had crossed the line. Now I just needed to prove it. I opened my laptop and pulled up our internal company dashboard. As the technical founder, I had built the system with layers. Logan didn't understand what those layers meant. He thought control was titles and signatures. He didn't realize real control was data. Every sensitive action inside Vantacore left traces, logins, IP addresses, timestamps, device IDs, internal approvals, digital fingerprints. So I checked the finance admin logs, and there it was. At 1:42 a.m., Logan logged into our finance portal. At 1:47 a.m., he uploaded a PDF labeled boardresolution.final.pdf. At 1:50 a.m., he generated an authorization token that gave him direct access to our bank wire interface. At 2:03 a.m., he submitted the wire request. $10 million. This wasn't impulsive. This was planned in the dark while I was sleeping. And the most important part? The board resolution file he uploaded. I downloaded it immediately, opened it, and my blood cold. Because at the bottom of that resolution was my signature. My signature. It looked like mine. It had the same shape, the same slant, the same lazy curve. But it wasn't mine. I could tell the difference the same way you can tell the difference between a real voice and a voice impersonator. It was too perfect, too clean, no hesitation marks, no pressure variation. It was a forged signature. And as I stared at it, the final piece clicked. Logan wasn't just stealing. He was committing identity fraud. My own brother was using my name as a weapon. I sat back, letting the moment sink in. If I wanted to end this immediately, I could call the police right now. I could freeze accounts, file reports, bring the whole deal crashing down. But that would be a fast ending, a messy ending. It would also give Logan room to claim confusion, to claim miscommunication, to paint himself as the victim. No, if I was going to destroy Logan, it had to be clean. Undeniable. I needed him to keep going, to go further, to hang himself completely. I grabbed my phone and texted him. "Morning, Atlas moving fast. Proud of you. Let's win this." He replied seconds later. "Bro, I'm handling everything. Big move today. Trust me." Trust me. The most dangerous words. Because Logan didn't realize I was trusting him to expose himself. By noon, we were back at Atlas headquarters. This meeting wasn't just business, it was a show. Richard brought in 2 more executives, one from operations, one from security compliance. Dana was there too, with that sharp, calm stare. Logan walked in like he owned the building. He shook hands, laughed, sat at the center of the table. Atlas loved it, or at least they pretended to. Richard opened the meeting. "Congratulations," he said. "The escrow is ready. Once the initial deposit hits, we finalize closing dates." Logan nodded like a king granting permission. "The wire is processing. 10 million should land today." Dana's eyes flicked to me for a split second. Just one glance, like she was checking if I'd react. I didn't. I kept my face neutral, because I didn't want Logan to suspect I had already spoken to her. I wanted him relaxed. I wanted him arrogant, because arrogance makes people sloppy. Richard smiled. "Excellent. Now, Logan, we need you to sign the interim leadership agreement. It formalizes your CEO status immediately." Immediate. Not after closing. Immediately. This was the point of no return. Logan took the pen without hesitation. He signed. Then he looked at me and pushed the pen toward my side of the table. "It's your turn," he said. That's when I made my move. Not a loud move, a surgical one. I picked up the pen calmly. Then I said, "Before I sign, I need one clause added." Richard's smile faded slightly. Dana leaned forward. "What clause?" she asked. I looked directly at her. "A fraud liability clause," I said. "If any executive forged signatures or misrepresented authority, their compensation is void, and they accept full civil and criminal responsibility." Silence. The air turned heavy. Logan blinked. "What?" he said, laughing nervously. "Why would we need that?" I kept my eyes on Dana. "It's protecting Atlas. It's protecting the company. And it's protecting me." Dana's expression didn't change, but I saw it in her eyes. She understood exactly what I was doing. Richard hesitated. "That's unusual," I said. "So is moving $10 million overnight." Logan's face stiffened. His smile cracked. And in that moment, I knew he felt fear for the first time, because he realized I wasn't completely asleep. He realized I was watching. Dana spoke calmly. "It's not unreasonable." Richard looked at her surprised. Then he nodded slowly. "Fine. Add the clause." Logan tightened his jaw. He tried to interrupt. "Guys, this is unnecessary. We don't need extra legal drama." Dana cut him off politely. "It's standard risk management. If there's no fraud, it's meaningless." Meaningless. But Logan knew it wasn't meaningless. Not if he forged my signature. Not if he already committed a felony. Richard signaled an assistant to update the document. As they waited, Logan leaned toward me, voice low. "What are you doing?" he hissed. I smiled, soft and deadly. "Protecting us," I whispered back. "Like brothers." He stared at me, eyes sharp with suspicion now. But it was too late. The trap had already been set. Because if he signed the updated document, he'd be signing a clause that directly destroyed him. And if he refused, Atlas would wonder why. Either way, Logan was boxed in. And the $10 million wire was still processing, still leaving fingerprints, still proving intent. And by the end of the day, I would have everything I needed. Not to fight my brother, to bury him.
Logan didn't speak to me on the ride back to the hotel. Not the playful, confident Logan from yesterday. Not the smiling Logan who believed he owned the future. This Logan was quiet, tense. His knee bounced in the back seat like he was trying to shake off a panic attack. He kept looking at his phone, refreshing something, checking messages, tapping his screen too hard. I knew what he was thinking. He was replaying my words. Fraud, liability clause, forged signatures, 10 million overnight. He wasn't dumb. He was reckless, arrogant, and greedy, but he wasn't stupid. And now the possibility was forming in his mind. Maybe Ethan knows. Maybe Ethan is not as passive as I thought. That thought alone would terrify him because his entire plan depended on one thing.
Me staying silent. Me staying loyal. Me staying predictable. Back in the hotel lobby, Logan finally spoke. His voice was calm on the surface, but it carried that sharp edge people get when they're trying not to crack. "We need to talk," he said. I nodded. "Sure." We walked into a quiet corner near the business lounge. It was empty except for a couple of tourists taking selfies by the window. Logan leaned closer, lowering his voice. "What was that back there?" he asked. I looked him in the eyes. "What was what?" I replied. He stared at me like he couldn't believe I was playing innocent. "The clause," he said. "The fraud clause." I shrugged slightly. "It's risk management." Logan's jaw clenched. "No," he said. "That was a message. That was you trying to embarrass me in front of Atlas." I let a small silence sit between us. Then I said quietly, "If you feel embarrassed by an anti-fraud clause, maybe you're doing something you shouldn't." His eyes widened. For a second, the mask slipped, and I saw it. Fear. Not guilt. Fear. He swallowed and forced a laugh. "Come on," he said. "Don't start acting paranoid." Paranoid. Another manipulation word. It was always the same cycle with Logan. Steal, then deny, then accuse the victim of being crazy, then move forward like nothing happened. But this time, he couldn't move forward because the rope around his neck was tightening. So he tried a different tactic. He softened his voice. "Ethan," he said, "I'm not trying to cut you out. I'm trying to protect us. Atlas wants one leader, that's all. Protect us." He kept saying us like a spell, as if repeating it enough times could change the facts. I kept my tone calm. "Then why did you change the bank signer authority without telling me?" I asked. His face stiffened instantly. That question was a blade. It was calm, but it cut deep. Logan paused, calculating. Then he said, "I didn't change it. The bank did. They asked for updated roles for the acquisition process." A lie. A clean, effortless lie. I nodded slowly. "So you didn't submit any board resolution?" I asked. His blink calibrated. His eyes narrowed just slightly. "No, I mean we submitted standard docs, but it's not like I forged anything." There it was. He said forged without me saying it first. That's how I knew he was guilty. Innocent people don't jump to the exact crime. They ask questions. They look confused. Logan looked defensive. I leaned closer. "Logan," I said softly, "I know you can see the internal logs, right?" His face went pale. Just for a second, then he recovered. He forced a laugh. "Logs," he said, "bro, you're overthinking." But his body was betraying him. His hands were tight, his breathing shallow, his eyes darting like he was searching for exits. He knew I wasn't bluffing. He knew the technology side was mine. That was the one territory he couldn't fake. So he did what desperate people do. He changed the subject. "Listen," he said quickly, "the wire is landing today. Once it lands, we're basically done. Don't sabotage this." Sabotage. Interesting word, because he was the one forging signatures, stealing authority, and risking federal charges. But he was accusing me of sabotage. I nodded slowly. "I'm not sabotaging anything. I just want things clean." Logan stared at me. Then he said the sentence that told me he was cracking. "Are you threatening me?" I smiled. "Logan," I said, "I'm not threatening you. I'm protecting myself." His eyes burned with anger. Then suddenly his face changed again. A switch. He became warm, friendly. He placed a hand on my shoulder like we were kids again. "Logan," he said, voice softer, "I'm your brother. I love you. I would never hurt you." I looked at his hand on my shoulder and felt nothing. because love doesn't forge your brother's signature. Love doesn't take his power in the dark. Love doesn't downgrade him in his own company. That night, Logan didn't go out drinking. He stayed in his suite. He locked in.
He started working. I knew because I had access to the internal admin notifications. At 11:12 p.m., he logged in to the finance portal. At 11:19 p.m., he uploaded a new file, Board Resolution Final 2.pdf. At 11:28 p.m., he opened the cap table spreadsheet. At 11:31 p.m., he edited ownership percentages. He was doing it again. He was still going. That's the thing about criminals. Once they've crossed the line, they don't stop because they're scared. They stop only when they're caught. And Logan believed he was too smart to get caught. So he escalated. I watched in real time as he edited the ownership structure, trying to make Atlas believe he owned the majority share. It was bold and incredibly illegal, because ownership changes required multiple filings, approvals, and legal steps. But Logan wasn't doing it legally. He was doing it with lies, manipulated paperwork, and forged signatures. And while he was doing that, I was building my file. I downloaded everything, every PDF, every edited spreadsheet, every timestamp, every IP address. And then I did the most important thing. I contacted our company's outside counsel, a law firm in Boston that had been with us since our Series A funding. They knew our corporate structure. They knew the real cap table. They knew me. I emailed them with one sentence: need urgent call, suspected forgery and financial misconduct by co-founder, need legal strategy and evidence preservation. Within 7 minutes, I got a response: calling you now. I stepped into the bathroom, closed the door, and answered. The lead attorney, Martin Hale, spoke immediately. Ethan, he said, what's happening? I told him everything. The bank signer changes, the forged signature, the 10 million wire, the Atlas deal pressure, Logan positioning himself as CEO. When I finished, Martin didn't hesitate. That's criminal, he said, and if Atlas moves forward with him as primary executive, knowing there's a dispute, this could get messy. I took a breath. I'm not trying to stop the deal yet, I said. I'm trying to document. Martin's voice hardened. Documenting is good, he said, but you need one thing above all else: a certified forensic record. Forensic. That word mattered, because court doesn't care about screenshots alone. Court cares about chain of custody, certified logs, metadata, unedited originals. Martin continued, I want you to preserve all files and system logs. Do not confront him further, and do not access anything you shouldn't, or he'll claim you hacked him. That was smart. Logan would absolutely flip the story if he could. He'd accuse me of sabotage. He'd accuse me of tampering. He'd try to paint himself as a victim. So I said, understood. Martin added, tomorrow morning, we're sending a forensic consultant to meet you in New York. He'll extract logs properly. My heart beat a little faster, because now it was official. This wasn't a brother fight. This was a legal operation. Then Martin said something that surprised me. Ethan, he said, there's a possibility your brother isn't acting alone. I froze. What do you mean? I asked. Martin sighed. In deals like this, he said, people don't usually forge signatures without outside advice. Someone may be guiding him. Guiding him. I thought about Richard. I thought about Atlas's hunger. I thought about how quickly they positioned Logan as CEO, and the idea hit me like cold water. What if Atlas wasn't just watching? What if Atlas was encouraging him behind the scenes? Not directly saying forge signatures, but creating pressure, rewarding control, and turning him into their tool. If that was true,
then Logan wasn't just betraying me. He was being weaponized. I ended the call and returned to my room. I didn't sleep. I watched the logs. At 2:14 a.m., Logan submitted another request to the bank portal. This time, it wasn't a wire. It was a loan application, a bridge loan, using Vantacor's assets as collateral. He was trying to take debt under our company name before the deal closed. That is the kind of move that destroys companies, because if the deal collapses, we'd still owe the debt, and Logan would blame me. I stared at the screen, numb. This had become bigger than ego, bigger than betrayal. Logan was willing to burn the entire company to become the one in control. And if I didn't stop him soon, he wouldn't just destroy me. He'd destroy everyone who worked for us, every engineer, every employee, every family depending on their paychecks. At 3:03 a.m., another notification came in. Logan uploaded a new document, Executive Authority Immediate.pdf. I opened it and my stomach dropped, because it wasn't just a board resolution, it was a resignation letter supposedly from me, stating that I was stepping down from CEO duties and giving Logan full authority. And at the bottom was my signature again, forged again. My brother wasn't stealing from me, he was erasing me. And that's when I made my decision. Tomorrow, I would let Logan take one more step, one final step, the step that would make it impossible for him to deny, the step that would force Atlas to choose sides. Because once Logan signed the bridge loan and once the bank processed it, he wouldn't just be a traitor, he'd be a criminal in writing. And the next part of my plan would begin, the part where I stop quietly observing and start controlling the outcome.
The next morning, I met the forensic consultant at 8 a.m. sharp. His name was Neil Carter, mid-40s, calm eyes, no-nonsense energy. The kind of guy who doesn't care about emotions, only evidence. He walked into the hotel lobby carrying a small black case like it was a medical kit. He shook my hand once, firm. "Ethan," he said, "I'm here to preserve your data. Whatever happens after this, we do it clean." Clean. That word mattered, because Logan was already preparing his own story, and men like him always do the same thing when they're cornered. They flip the blame. They accuse you of sabotage. They cry about being betrayed. So Neil's job was to make that impossible. We moved into a private conference room in the hotel business center. Neil opened his case and pulled out equipment that looked like something from a spy movie. Encrypted drives, write blockers, hardware imaging tools. He didn't touch my laptop at first. He asked questions. "Who has admin access?" he asked. "Me and Logan, and our CTO-level security team, but they don't touch finance." Neil nodded, typing. "Any recent credential changes?" he asked. "Logan updated bank authority and uploaded board resolutions," I said. "Possibly forged." Neil looked up. "Possibly," he asked. I exhaled. "Forged," I corrected. He nodded once, like he appreciated honesty. Then he began. He created forensic images of every relevant system: finance portal logs, admin access logs, document upload history, timestamp sequences, IP addresses, even metadata. Everything that could prove one thing: intent. Because in court, intent is the difference between mistake and crime. By 10:30 a.m., Neil had enough. He closed his laptop and said, "He did it." My stomach tightened. "You're sure?" I asked. Neil looked me in the eyes. 2 forged signatures, 3 separate PDFs, all uploaded from the same device fingerprint, he said. The signature files were copied from a scanned doc and pasted. It's not handwritten, it's manipulated. A quiet wave of relief and sickness hit me at the same time.
Relief because I wasn't crazy. Sickness because my own brother had become this person. Neil continued. Also, the 10 million wire request came from the same device and IP he used last night. The sequence is deliberate. I nodded. Now I had my bulletproof file. Now Logan couldn't talk his way out. But I still wasn't ready to strike because I wanted something bigger than proof. I wanted leverage, and I was about to get it. At 11:15 a.m., Logan texted me, "Need you at Atlas by 12. Big update. Don't be late." His tone was short, commanding, as if he was already CEO and I was staff. I replied simply, "On my way." Neil looked at me. "You're going to meet him?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "I need him comfortable." Neil nodded slowly. "Just don't confront him alone," he said. "When people realize they're caught, they get unpredictable." I understood. That's why I wasn't going to confront him. Not yet. At Atlas headquarters, Logan was already in the conference room when I arrived. He stood up dramatically, like he wanted everyone to see him. Richard was there. Dana was there too, and two new faces, a compliance officer and an escrow manager. This wasn't a casual meeting. This was the moment Atlas was pushing the deal into final territory. Richard smiled. "Gentlemen," he said, "we're moving into closing week." Logan grinned like a man who had already spent the money in his head. "Let's do it," Logan said. Dana flipped open a folder. "Before we proceed," she said, "we need an update regarding corporate authority, specifically CEO resignation and interim leadership structure." My heart stayed calm because I already knew what was coming. Logan didn't. Logan looked at Dana. "What do you mean?" he asked. Dana slid a document across the table. It was the resignation letter. The one Logan forged. The one that proved I stepped down. Dana looked at me. "Ethan," she asked politely, "this appears to be your signed resignation. Is it accurate?" The room went silent. Logan's face stiffened. He wasn't expecting Atlas to bring it up like this. He thought he controlled the narrative. I kept my voice calm. "No," I said, "it's forged." Logan snapped. "What?" he said, too loud. "That's crazy." Dana didn't react. She turned to Logan. "Logan, did you submit this document?" Logan's eyes widened. Now he understood the danger. If he admits it, he's finished. If he denies it, he's calling Atlas a liar. And Atlas doesn't tolerate liability. Logan looked at me with a mix of rage and desperation. Then he did what guilty people do. He attacked me. "He's lying," Logan said. "He's setting me up because he can't handle me leading." I stared at him, not angry, just disappointed. Dana leaned back. Her voice stayed calm, but it was razor sharp. "Ethan," she asked, "do you have evidence of forgery?" I nodded once. "Yes." Logan laughed nervously, but it sounded fake. "Evidence?" he said. "He's bluffing." I pulled my phone out slowly. Not dramatic, not theatrical, just factual. I have forensic extraction of our system logs and certified metadata proving who created and uploaded that document. Richard's expression changed instantly. The moment he heard forensic and certified, his business smile disappeared. Now it wasn't business. Now it was legal risk. Dana held out her hand. "Send it to me," she said. Logan's face went pale. Now he understood. This wasn't a brother argument anymore. This was an exposure. I forwarded the package Neil prepared. PDFs, timestamps, IP logs, signature manipulation analysis. Everything. Dana opened it quickly, scanning. Then she looked at Logan. Her voice was calm, but it carried finality. "Logan, if this is accurate, you have committed fraud and misrepresentation." Logan stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. "This is insane," he shouted. "He set me up." Richard raised a hand. "Sit down," he called coldly. Logan didn't. He couldn't. His body was in fight or flight. He looked around the room like a trapped animal. Then he tried his last move. He tried to flip it into a negotiation. "Okay," Logan said, his voice shaking, "maybe paperwork got mixed up, but we can fix this. We can still close. I'll sign whatever you want." Dana stared at him like he was nothing. "No," she said. One word. "No." Then she turned to Richard. "Atlas cannot proceed under these conditions, not with criminal exposure." Richard's jaw tightened. He looked at Logan like he finally saw him clearly, not as a CEO, as a liability. Logan's voice cracked. "Richard, please," he said. "We had a plan." A plan. He admitted it without realizing it. Richard didn't answer. He didn't need to, because the meeting was over. Logan suddenly turned to me. "You did this," he hissed. "You ruined everything." I stood up slowly, and for the first time, I let my voice carry real emotion. "You ruined it," I said, "the moment you forged my name." Logan's eyes burned. He stepped toward me, and that's when security entered. 2 men in black suits. Dana nodded at them. "Escort Mr. Mitchell out," she said. Logan froze, not because he cared about shame, because he understood what escort meant. It meant Atlas was cutting him off. It meant he was alone now. No money, no backing, no protection. Logan fought. He shouted. He called me a traitor. He screamed that I stole his future. But the room didn't care, because power doesn't argue with noise. Power removes noise. Logan was dragged out, still yelling, and when the door shut, the silence felt like the world resetting. Dana looked at me. Her eyes were colder now. "Ethan, you need to understand what this triggers." I nodded. "I know," I said. Dana replied, "If he forged corporate documents, this becomes a federal matter. The bank will be notified, compliance will be notified, and if the wire landed—" "The 10 million," I whispered. Dana nodded. "That money could be frozen, and he could be charged." Charged, that word echoed in my mind. Not because I wanted him imprisoned, because a part of me still remembered he was my brother, but another part of me knew the truth. He chose this road, and now the road was ending. Richard stood up. "Ethan," he said, "Atlas wants to continue the acquisition, but only with one condition." I looked at him. "What condition?" I asked. Richard's voice was firm. "You take full control immediately." I stared at him. $90 million was still on the table, but now it came with blood on it. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. This story wasn't over. Logan wasn't just going to disappear quietly. Men like him don't accept defeat.
I didn't go back to the hotel right away. Not because I wanted to enjoy the win, because it didn't feel like a win. It felt like a door had just slammed shut behind me, and I had no idea what was waiting on the other side. Logan's face across the street stayed in my mind like a warning sign. It wasn't anger anymore. Anger is loud. Anger burns out. What I saw on his face was colder than anger. It was calculation. A man losing control doesn't always explode. Sometimes he goes silent, and silent men do dangerous things. I stepped into a quiet cafe 2 blocks away and sat in the back corner where nobody could see my screen. I opened my laptop and logged into our security monitoring dashboard. I needed to check something, because while Atlas had removed Logan physically, I couldn't be sure he was removed digitally. And in a company like ours, digital access is more powerful than any title. I pulled up the admin access page. My stomach tightened. Logan was still listed as an active admin. That didn't mean he was logged in, but it meant he still had the keys. And I knew him. If he couldn't control the deal, he would try to burn the company. That's how ego works. If they can't own it, they destroy it so no one else can. I sent one message to Neil Carter. "Need immediate access lockdown. Logan still has admin rights." Neil responded in under a minute. "On it. Don't delay." Then I called Martin Hale, our outside counsel. He answered quickly, voice tense. "You okay?" he asked. "No," I said honestly. He's still in our systems. Martin cursed under his breath. "Lock him out now," he said. "If he touches anything after being warned, we can escalate criminal intent." Escalate. I breathed slowly. Then I did what I should have done weeks ago. I initiated a full credential lockdown, every admin token revoked, every password reset, every multi-factor authentication reissued. I removed Logan's privileges from the core systems first: finance, compliance, document management. Then I moved to engineering tools, cloud infrastructure, build pipelines, repository permissions. It took 12 minutes that felt like an hour. And during those 12 minutes, my eyes stayed glued to the log monitor, because I knew Logan would react, like a shark sensing blood. At 2:19 p.m., it happened. A login attempt from Logan's device. Denied. At 2:21 p.m., another attempt. Denied. At 2:23 p.m., a third attempt. Denied. Then, nothing. I stared at the screen, heart still pounding. Silence is never comforting after repeated denied logins. Silence means the person stopped trying the front door and started looking for the back. I grabbed my coffee, took one sip, and felt my phone vibrate. A text from Logan. "I need to talk." That's it. No bro, no warmth, just a command. I didn't reply. Not yet. I was done playing brother. I was playing survival now. Then my phone rang. It was our internal operations manager, Sandy. She sounded terrified. "Ethan," she said, "Logan is here." "Where?" I asked, already standing. "At the office," she whispered. "He walked in like he owns the place. He's telling people you're destroying the deal and stealing the company." My throat tightened. "Is he alone?" I asked. "I think so," she said, "but he's yelling. People are scared." I closed my laptop and left the cafe immediately. The office was 20 minutes away. The entire ride, my mind kept replaying the same thought. Logan knows he's losing, so he's moving to stage 2. Stage 2 is always public perception. When greedy people lose privately, they try to win socially. They create a story, they recruit witnesses, they poison the room. Because if they can't be the hero, they'll make you the villain. When I arrived at our office building, I saw him through the glass doors. Logan, standing in the lobby with his hands spread wide, talking loudly to employees like he was giving a speech. I could hear fragments. "He's unstable. He's trying to sabotage. This deal was my work." I pushed the doors open and walked in. Everything stopped. Employees fell silent. Logan turned slowly, like he had been waiting for me. He smiled. But it wasn't a real smile. It was the smile of someone trying to win a jury. "There he is," Logan announced loud enough for everyone. "The man who thinks he can steal $90 million from his own brother." I kept my voice calm. "Everyone, go back to work." Nobody moved. They were frozen. They didn't know who to believe. And that's exactly what Logan wanted. He pointed at me. "You betrayed me. You went behind my back. You talked to Atlas. You set me up." I stared at him. "Logan," I said quietly, "you forged my signature." His expression shifted instantly. He laughed like I told a joke. "Forgery?" he said. "Look at him. He's losing it." Then he stepped closer, lowering his voice just enough to sound intimate. "You think you won? You didn't win. You just made me dangerous." For a second, I felt chills, because I believed him. Not because he was strong, because desperate men are reckless. I nodded slowly. "You're already dangerous. That's why you're losing." His eyes burned, and then he did something that shocked even me. He pulled out his phone and he pressed play on a recording, my voice, from a private call weeks earlier. A conversation where I had said something like, "If Logan keeps pushing, I'll bury him." Logan looked at the employees, holding the phone like a weapon. "You hear that? This is what Ethan thinks of me. This is what he thinks of this company. He wants to bury people." People began whispering. Some looked at me differently now. I felt my stomach drop. Logan wasn't just fighting for money. He was fighting for the story. If he could paint me as the villain, he could survive. He could claim I framed him. He could argue that I manipulated evidence. He could slow down the legal consequences long enough to escape. But then I remembered something. Every liar thinks they control the narrative until you show the entire truth. So I reached into my pocket and pulled out my own phone. I opened an email and I said one sentence, calm but loud enough for everyone. I have forensic proof he forged legal documents and moved $10 million without authorization. Logan's smile faltered. Then he recovered quickly. Fake, he barked. He's lying. He's trying to scare you. I stepped forward. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I simply spoke like a man giving facts in court. The resignation letter was forged. The bank signer update was forged. The board resolution was forged. And Atlas has already received the forensic report. Logan snapped. You don't have proof, he shouted. I nodded once. Oh, I do. And Logan, I paused. I looked directly at him. The bank called me this morning. He froze. His eyes widened just slightly. That was my confirmation. He didn't care about Atlas. He cared about the bank. Because the bank meant law enforcement. It meant frozen accounts. It meant felony charges. For the first time, I watched Logan's confidence truly crack. But instead of retreating, he lunged for my phone, fast, desperate. His hand grabbed at it like if he could destroy the device, he could destroy reality. But I was ready. Security was ready too, because Martin had already warned me. I signaled our building security. 2 guards rushed in and grabbed Logan by the arms. Logan fought, not like a professional fighter, like a drowning man. He screamed, "Let me go!" He shouted, "This is my company!" He yelled my name like it was a curse. Employees stood frozen, terrified. And I realized something. This wasn't just business anymore. This wasn't just money. This was identity. Logan wasn't trying to take $90 million. He was trying to take my life, my legacy, my existence. As they dragged him out, he twisted toward me, and in a voice so low that it almost didn't sound human, he said, "This isn't over." The doors closed behind him. The lobby fell silent. I stood there, breathing slowly, forcing my body to stay calm. Then my phone buzzed again. An email from our bank. Subject line, "Urgent notice, account freeze pending investigation." I opened it, and the first sentence made my blood run cold. Due to suspected fraudulent activity, all corporate accounts will be temporarily frozen, effective immediately. Frozen. All accounts, payroll, operations, client contracts, everything. Logan hadn't just tried to steal the deal, he had triggered a chain reaction, and now the entire company was about to collapse, unless I made the most difficult decision of my life. In the next 24 hours, I would have to choose, save the company or destroy my brother.
The word frozen doesn't sound scary until it's your company. Frozen means your employees don't get paid. Frozen means vendors stop shipping. Frozen means clients lose trust. Frozen means your entire business becomes a dying animal on a sidewalk, and everyone steps over it, pretending they don't see. I read the email twice to make sure it was real. Then I called the bank immediately. The branch manager answered, voice shaky. "Mr. Mitchell," he said, "I'm sorry. This came from corporate compliance. We have to follow procedure." "Procedure will destroy my company," I said. I didn't yell, but my voice carried something sharper than anger. He exhaled. "I know," he said, "but the activity triggered an internal fraud alert. Multiple documents, multiple authority changes, and a large wire transfer. Now it's out of my hands." Out of his hands. That meant federal-level reporting. That meant a timeline I couldn't control. I closed my eyes for half a second and forced myself to breathe. "Tell me what I can do," I said. He hesitated. Then he lowered his voice like he wasn't supposed to say this. "If you provide proof of legitimate corporate authority,
he said. And if law enforcement is involved, there are exceptions, emergency payroll releases, limited operating funds. Proof of authority. That was my world. Paperwork, signatures, resolutions. Ironically, the same weapons Logan used to attack me could now be used to save the company. I can provide it, I said. I'll send you a compliance packet, he replied, but you need to move fast. Fast. I hung up and walked straight into our main office conference room. My executive team was already gathered, not because I called them, because panic spreads faster than emails. Sandy was there, eyes red. Our CFO, Mark, looked like he hadn't slept. Our head of engineering, Priya, was staring at her laptop like it was betraying her. I didn't sit down. I stood at the head of the table and said it plainly. Our accounts are frozen. They all froze too. Mark spoke first, voice tight. Payroll is in 4 days. If we can't run payroll, we lose staff immediately. Priya added, our cloud vendors will cut service if payments fail. Sandy's voice trembled. Clients will hear about this. We'll look unstable. Unstable. That word hit my chest because Logan's story was already forming. Ethan is unstable. Ethan sabotaged the deal. Ethan triggered the freeze. That's what he wanted everyone to believe. But truth doesn't matter if you can't keep the lights on. I held up my hand. Listen, I said, this was triggered by fraud, not by financial weakness. We will survive it if we act smart. Mark leaned forward. How? He asked. I looked at them, calm but intense. We do 3 things, I said. First, legal authority. Second, emergency funding. Third, narrative control. They stared at me, so I explained. Legal authority. We prove I'm still CEO, that Logan's documents are forged, I said. Emergency funding. We secure operating funds without touching frozen accounts. Narrative control. We prevent Logan from poisoning clients and staff. Mark swallowed. Emergency funding from where? He asked. I paused, because the answer was uncomfortable. Atlas, I said. Priya's eyes widened. After what happened? I nodded. Atlas still wants the acquisition, but right now they also want to protect themselves. They'll cooperate if it's the cleanest option. Mark frowned. So we go back to the sharks? No, I said. We go back as the man holding the knife. That's when my phone buzzed. A text from Dana Wexler. Ethan, need to talk. Urgent. I stared at the message and felt the tension shift. Atlas was moving. They weren't waiting. I left the room and called her. Dana picked up instantly. Her voice was controlled, but I could hear urgency underneath. The Atlas bank freeze is already being discussed internally. This could go public. I know, I replied. Dana paused, then said something that surprised me. Atlas can provide bridge funding, but we need immediate assurance you can deliver clean ownership. Bridge funding. That meant Atlas could save my payroll, my operations, my staff. But the price would be control, or at least that's what it sounded like. I can deliver clean ownership, I said. Logan has no legal standing. Dana was quiet for a beat. Then she said something that changed the entire direction of the war. Ethan, she said, Atlas will fund your operations and protect the acquisition, but only if you agree to cooperate with law enforcement against Logan. Cooperate? Against my brother? I sat in silence for a moment, because now the choice wasn't theoretical. It was real. Save the company or protect Logan. And the truth was, Logan had already chosen. He didn't protect me. He didn't protect the company. He didn't protect our parents. He chose money. He chose ego. He chose betrayal. Dana's eyes held mine. She waited, and deep inside I felt something collapse, the last piece of brotherhood. I nodded once. Okay, I said. I'll cooperate. Dana exhaled. Then she said the final sentence. "Good," she whispered, "because he's about to be arrested." When Dana said he's about to be arrested, I didn't feel victory. I felt something worse, a deep, sharp emptiness. Because when you grow up with someone, when you share a childhood with them, your brain still struggles to accept that they can become your enemy. Not a rival, not a problem, an enemy. Dana's eyes stayed locked on mine, waiting for a reaction, like she was measuring whether I'd flinch. But I didn't flinch. I couldn't. I had already crossed the point of return the moment Logan forged my name. I said quietly, "How soon?" Dana replied, "Within hours. The bank filed the fraud report. They have federal compliance obligations. Once the wire transaction and the forgery are confirmed, law enforcement moves fast." I nodded. Then I asked something I didn't expect myself to ask. "Will Atlas still close the acquisition?" Dana didn't smile. She didn't celebrate. She answered like a lawyer. "If you remain cooperative and provide clean authority, yes," she said, "but the deal changes." "How?" I asked. Dana leaned forward slightly. "Atlas doesn't trust chaos," she said, "and your brother created chaos. We will lower the valuation to reflect risk." That sentence hit like a punch. Logan didn't just try to steal my future. He damaged it. He poisoned the deal. He turned a $90 million acquisition into something less just by being reckless. But even then, saving the company mattered more than the number, because a company isn't a number, it's people. I nodded. "Do it," I said. "Keep the company alive." Dana paused, then added something cold. "And Ethan, if he contacts you, don't engage. He's desperate. Desperate people do stupid things." I left the Whitmore Club feeling like I was walking through fog. New York lights blurred as if the city itself didn't want me to see it clearly. In the car, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I knew before answering. It was him, Logan. I didn't want to pick up, but I did, because I needed to hear it. I needed to close the last chapter myself. His voice came through immediately, not calm, not charming, not brotherly. "You snake," Logan hissed. I said nothing. He continued, voice shaking. "You went to Atlas behind my back." Still no response. He shouted, "You ruined my life." That's when I finally spoke. Softly, low. "You ruined your own life," I said. "You forged my name, Logan." He went quiet. Then, in a voice that sounded almost wounded, he said, "I did it for us." I laughed once, bitter. "For us?" I repeated. "You made yourself CEO. You cut me out. You moved 10 million at night. You tried to erase me from my own company." Logan snapped. "It was supposed to be mine," he screamed. "I built the relationships. I made the calls. I made them want us." And there it was, the truth. Not money, not family, envy. He wanted to be the one people praised, the one they called genius, the one who won. I said quietly, "If you wanted recognition, you could have earned it." His voice trembled. "You don't understand," he whispered. "I lived in your shadow my whole life." I closed my eyes, because in that sentence I heard the child version of Logan, the kid who always wanted to be seen, the kid who always wanted to be chosen. But we weren't kids anymore, and childhood pain didn't justify criminal choices. I said one final sentence. "You're not in my shadow," I said. "You're in your own." Then I ended the call. Minutes later, my phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Logan. It was the bank branch manager. His voice was shaky. "Mr. Mitchell," he said, "I need you to know we received a federal hold request. Agents will be contacting you." I breathed slowly. "Okay," I said. "I'll cooperate." I hung up. Then I called Martin Hale. He answered immediately. "You ready?" he asked. "As ready as I can be," I said. Martin's voice was firm. "This ends tonight," he said. At 11:47 p.m., I was back at the office with Neil, Martin on speaker, and 2 silent security guards at the front entrance. We weren't waiting for drama. We were waiting for inevitability. Then it happened. A black SUV rolled up outside, 2 more vehicles behind it. Men in dark jackets stepped out. Not loud, not aggressive, efficient. FBI. They walked inside with calm authority, like they had done this 1,000 times. One of them approached me. "Ethan Mitchell?" he asked. "Yes," I said. He nodded. "I'm Special Agent Barnes," he said. "We have a warrant for Logan Mitchell for fraud, forgery, and wire-related financial crimes." Fraud, forgery, wire crimes. Words that permanently change a life. Agent Barnes continued, "We also need access to certain corporate systems and documentation." Neil stepped forward calmly. "I've prepared forensic images." He held up the drive case, chain of custody intact. Barnes nodded. "Good," he said. Then he turned to me. "Where is Logan?" he asked. I stared at the glass doors, and I said honestly, "I don't know." Barnes's eyes narrowed slightly. "He's been contacting people," Barnes said, "trying to move funds, trying to create a counter-narrative." Of course he was. Then Barnes said something that chilled my blood. He also attempted to access an offshore account. That suggests flight risk. Flight risk. So Logan wasn't just fighting, he was running. Barnes looked at his team. "Move," he said. They left the office quickly, and I stood there frozen, because suddenly it wasn't just about saving the company, it was about whether my brother would disappear forever. At 1:22 a.m., my phone rang again, a blocked number. I answered. His voice was calm this time, too calm. "Ethan?" he said. I didn't respond. Logan continued softly, "I'm leaving." My throat tightened. "Are you running?" I asked. He laughed quietly. "You left me no choice," he said. "Atlas turned on me, the bank turned on me, even Mom would turn on me if she knew." I whispered, "You did this." Logan exhaled. "You can have the company," he said, "but you'll never have peace." Then he said something that my heart stopped. "I'm at Dad's house." Our father. His house, where my mother was sleeping, where my family was. I felt adrenaline hit like electricity. "Logan," I said sharply, "don't go near them." He laughed. "Relax," he said. "I'm not here to hurt them." But his tone was wrong. He sounded like a man holding power for the first time in hours, a man trying to reclaim control through fear. I grabbed my keys and ran. I drove like my life depended on it, because it did. When I arrived, the street was quiet, too quiet. The house lights were on, and standing at the front porch was Logan, a duffel bag at his feet. He looked thinner than I remembered, less like a king, more like a criminal realizing the world is smaller than his ego. I stepped out of the car slowly. "Logan," I said. He turned to me. His eyes were wet, not with regret, with exhaustion. He said quietly, "I didn't want this ending." I stared at him. "Then you shouldn't have started it," I said. He swallowed hard. Then he whispered, "I just wanted to be the one that mattered." That sentence almost broke me, because for a second I saw the little brother again. But then I saw the forged documents, the frozen accounts, the employees panicking, the $10 million wire, and I remembered reality. I said softly, "You mattered. You just chose the wrong way." Logan nodded like he heard it. Then the street filled with flashing red and blue lights, FBI vehicles, local police. They moved in fast. Logan didn't run. He didn't fight. He simply raised his hands. Agent Barnes stepped forward. "Logan Mitchell," he said, "you are under arrest." And just like that, my brother's story ended in handcuffs. He looked at me one last time, not angry, not hateful, just empty. And as they put him in the car, I felt no joy, only grief, because the person I lost wasn't the criminal being arrested. It was the brother I thought I had. Weeks later, the company stabilized. Atlas reduced the deal to $72 million. It hurt, but payroll survived. The team stayed. The product lived. And I learned a lesson that changed my life forever. People don't become dangerous when they get power. They become dangerous when power exposes what they already were. I visited Logan once in a federal detention center. He sat behind glass, looking smaller. He asked, "Was it worth it?" I stared at him and answered the truth. "It wasn't worth losing you," I said, "but it was worth saving what you tried to destroy." He didn't respond, because deep down, he knew. Then I stood up to leave, and before I walked away, I said the final sentence. "The saddest part," I told him, "is that you didn't have to steal $90 million. You could have built your own." And I left.